Welcome viewers to a special edition of the post-budget analysis of the budget 2025. Usually in media houses, after the FM Sitaraman speech, will decode, has enough been done for growth? Is the fiscal deficit being managed? But really here there's a cannonball released by the FM today in terms of the tax relief provided to the middle class. And to understand these nuances better, we have Aarti Raote, uh, partner tax at Deloitte India. Welcome, Aarti. Uh, we're really trying to
Thank you. Thank you.
understand the nuances of this big move. What does the tax relief to uh, people mean below who have no income tax to pay, up to an income of 12 lakhs? What does it actually decode it into? Will it actually translate into what the FM wants, which is that I'm giving you money. Now it's the time to go and spend and, of course, save a bit.
Thank you. Thank you, Salil. Definitely, the finance minister has put a smile on everybody's face, and there would hardly be anybody who is not impacted by that. Over the last few years, there had been a lot of criticism that the government is doing nothing for the middle class, and there is a lot of pressure on spending due to inflation and cost of things, commodities rising. But this year, there has been a pleasant change. Did we expect this? Well, there was a news, what I would say, mention by the Prime Minister saying that may Goddess Lakshmi, bless the middle class and the poor class. So a lot of people were expecting this, but not to this extent. So the extension of no taxes for a person earning income up to 12 and a half lakhs, that was really, really generous, I would say, from the finance minister. Um, what it means is that they will have more disposable income in their hands and more money to spend on necessities and maybe a little bit of comforts from their end. What I would want to also call out here, Salil, is this is a big step by the government, because if you see the past few years, the collection of in the tax kitty of the government on account of taxes is the highest by the individual taxpayers. They are the highest contributors to the kitty, and this kind of relief which comes in not only for the lower income group, it extends to across everybody, all the taxpayers, because it's been made in the lower tax bracket. So everybody from the lower to the higher would be, in some way benefited um, by this move. So I'll pause
What
a
is
bit
the
here
universe
and
we
maybe.
are talking about? The universe of people who will actually get benefited?
So it's very difficult to say, because income, as you know, is a very fluid kind of thing. But if I have to see the previous news reports, I mean, most people will, 70% of the people would be in this bracket who will be, immensely impacted. I would say from 12 lakhs to 50 lakhs, that kind of a bracket. So there would be a considerable amount of individuals in here.
And her move, of course, to keep the higher income people taxed heavier, that continues, right? That's something which the government has always focused on. That
Yes, yes. So two things which are highlighted here. One is there's no change in this tax breaks for the higher income group. There's no change in the cess and the surcharge. So I think those people also are very happy with the status quo. It would have been a dampener if there was an increase in the surcharge rate. In fact, last year in the previous budgets, the surcharge rates have been brought down from 37% to 25%. So there was a worry about change in the surcharge rate, but no change is good news for them. More specifically, the second thing out here is all these changes are applicable in the new tax regime. So, which means that in a manner, the government is really motivating people to choose new tax regime and wean off old tax regime. If I just have to do a comparison here, Salil, maybe for an income of up to 24 lakhs, which is the bracket which changes from 25 to 30%. If I have to do a comparison over there, if supposing I have deductions, let's say a house rent allowance, house property loan deduction, ATC, all of this clubbed together of about say 8.37 lakhs, then between the old tax regime and the new tax regime, I would be neutral almost. But that's a huge number for many people, right? So many people in the lower tax bracket, given that you have a no tax up to 2.5 lakhs, and then you get on to a situation where you have calibrated rates for 12 lakhs to 24 lakhs. People, there would be more takers for the new tax regime.
Right. And would you say that the new tax regime is has been a success? Is how do you?
Yes, absolutely. It has been a success. Even today, based on reports, it is 72% people who opt for the new tax regime. And the reason for this today also is very simple. One is there are reduced tax implications up to a level of 15 lakhs. At the higher tax bracket also, if you are under old tax regime, you will actually pay 37% surcharge, which is 25% in the new tax regime. So that's a huge impact for anybody. So definitely today we have 72% people opting for the new tax regime. This is definitely going to be higher percentage in the coming years.
Okay. And could you help us explain the other measures which is taken on both TDS and TCS? What's really the biggest takeaway there?
So one a major relief here, Salil, for the senior citizens is the increase in the threshold for saving bank and the fixed deposit interest, the TDS provisions for that. This threshold has increased from 50 lakhs to 50,000 to 1 lakh. That's a big relief for these people who are struggling to pay the rent or pay their consumption costs. That is a welcome change. Then we also see a reduction in TDS threshold for people who are paying rent, right? Who are receiving rent. That threshold has increased from 2.4 lakhs to 6 lakhs. So over I would say overall there has been a kind of a concession given to people earning lower and getting lower income in terms of TCS that is or TDS that is levied. The second, what I would say, biggest change is in the tax collection at source. There was a threshold of 7 lakhs which was applicable, and now that threshold has increased to 10 lakhs. So this is for anybody who makes remittances overseas. They would suffer a TCS of 7 beyond a limit of 7 lakhs, which was considered to be a very, very small limit, and now this increases to 10 lakhs. Also, a bigger concession is for people who make remittances overseas for education of their kids. If this education is financed through a loan from a financial institution, then there is no TCS which is applicable. So this is a big relief for people who are supporting education costs for their kids. Again, there is relief provided for higher TDS for non PAN cases. So there were certain group of people who had PAN but who were not filing the returns. So in that case, higher TDS would not apply, right? So and then delay in payment of TDS and TCS also has been decriminalized, and there's a concession given for delays. So all of that rolled up has provided a lot of relief. I think the message from the government in terms of trusting the taxpayers and ensuring there is a strong bond between the government and the taxpayers, somewhere we are seeing that being put in practice.
Yeah. Uh, as with last year, Sitaraman has also put a lot of emphasis on ease of doing business and ease of paying taxes. Could you highlight some of those?
Uh, yes, I think there are a lot of operational changes, and she called out to several operational changes which came about in terms of pre-populated tax returns and making sure there are e-assessments, there are faceless assessments that are there, faster refunds. But in this budget, I think she has taken a step further. The first thing I would want to call out is in case of updated tax returns. Uh, you see, when you file your tax returns, you have a provision to revise the tax return in 6 months. But beyond that, you cannot really make a change in your tax returns. If even if you notice that okay, there might be some income which has escaped your notice and you've not filed it in your tax return. So earlier, this limit of filing an updated tax return was only 2 years, but this has now been increased to 4 years. Of course, the tax payment in that case, or the penal taxes, would be 60% and 70% respectively in the third and fourth year. So you have to pay a higher tax, but at least you're good, you're coming up clean. And that makes a big difference to some of the taxpayers who have inadvertently missed, reporting some kind of taxes.
Right, right. So there's a bit of buzz which is going around on which we've been hearing, which is market related. Uh, that maybe we could still see a bit of a dampener in terms of a hike in capital gains tax. Is that something which you all envisage? Could it come at some point?
Not really. So, in the budget, she has also spoken about making things simpler, rationalizing stuff. So, what we see, there is a huge change in the TDS rates for other than senior citizens as well, where the thresholds have moved from 5,000 to 10,000, and many of the rates have been streamlined. So, I think the whole intent is to make things simpler. Also, she spoke that in a week's time she would be announcing a new tax
Bill.
code, yeah, bill, which will kind of make which will be reducing the provisions to 50%, reduce litigation, and make things clearer. Today, what the tax practitioners are doing, Salil, is where there is an ambiguity in the provisions and that does not clearly apply to the situation in hand. There is interpretation which is, imposed on that. There are some legal rulings, and when you get into legal rulings, it could be that you have a Delhi High Court and there is a contrary decision in Mumbai High Court and there is something else in Chennai High Court. So there is a mix of things which is happening, and people are compelled to take a position for taxes. With this is something which leads to litigation, and this is what the finance minister is wanting to resolve. So I
Oh.
think over the last year, there are about 6,500 recommendations which have been made across industries, across taxpayers to the government. And I guess many of those things will come in light in the coming week.
So, just a bit of crystal ball gazing here. We want to understand that now that she's put this threshold limit, the 12 lakh uh, annual income relief. How do governments tend to look at it? Is this going to be the benchmark? You think in coming years uh, this will be where it will stay, or you think she could go back and reverse it at some point?
I just hope
What do
she doesn't.
governments tend to?
I definitely don't hope she reverses it. And also, it might not, I mean, unless there's something drastic happening, I don't think she would want to reverse this. I think this government has got criticized a lot in terms of lower consumption and lower, what I would say, spending power for the consumers, and which is why she's trying to put a little bit of money in the hands of the taxpayers. And while doing so, she's making these changes in the new tax regime only. So, which means they are not in any manner compromising on the objective of simplification, on the objective of making governance very straightforward, in reducing administrative hassle. So, with all of that, she is trying to, make things better for the taxpayers, which is good. And I just hope she doesn't go back on that.
Okay. Just before we end it, to understand one more area, is there any gap, anything which was missing, which you think the government should have looked at, which Sitaraman should have addressed? Anything else?
So I think the budget was more about, um, announcing the tax rates, explaining where the income comes from and what she's going to spend it on, what are they focusing on, uh, but also on a lot of smaller aspect. There's a lot spoken about tourism. There is a lot spoken about areas where they really want to make a difference for the economy. There could be a lot of operational provisions which we will hear in the next coming week when she announces the bill. One thing which was significantly absent, she did allude to the social security for platform workers in her
Yes.
budget speech. She did make a mention about it, but what was missing is specifically on the employee linked incentives, which was announced in the large budget, and there were schemes to be announced which are not yet announced. There was mention which was expected on the labor code also, which was missing out here. So those are certain areas which probably uh, are missing, and we will hear in the coming weeks.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Aarti. Thank you for taking out time and joining us for this special session. Viewers, do look forward to more analysis of this type where we will decode the budget in coming days. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Salil.